you know, neighborhood kids, as you would say today, they kind of disappeared. And I guess being a parent myself and being part of the reason for them disappearing as neighborhood kids is basically organized sports. And I coached the Lady of Victory's Grammar School basketball team for 11 years, so I started that in 1964 or 65, and then we went with cheerleaders and everything. So you took what was the neighborhood kids that hung around together, played basketball and baseball together, and what we did now is we put them on teams that had kids coming from different areas of town, and then they would play at the field behind a borough hall. So now, you know, things changed in that way over the years, and it's for the good. You know, it's something that was good for. There was no little league when I was a kid in town. When I was a kid, we used to have pickup games, and then we had an organized team like in the neighborhood, and we would play in a league that the borough had every summer, and we played behind a borough hall. There was a guy in town called Buck Bailey. And Buck Bailey was head of the Parks Department. And the man did everything. He scraped the fields. He lined the fields. I don't know how many men he had working in there, maybe 2 or 3 at the time. And then when we had summer leagues like baseball and even softball, he umped the games. He did everything. And like different teams, we only had maybe 4 teams in a league there, but Buck organized that, and in the summer we all look forward to. We played maybe once or twice a week up behind our borough hall, which is a big thing to get to play on a field like that. And, you know, we had a field like in our neighborhood down behind the Washington School, but it was all stones just about. You know, we used to try to maintain it ourselves. There was a man, going back years ago. He just passed away, Mr. Wojcik, John Wojcik. Back in the 50s, Our Lady of Victories had a basketball team back in '48, and there was a league up in New Brunswick called the Tri-County Grammar School League. It was all Catholic schools. And he coached that team. And when I was like in 1957, I think it was, I worked at DuPont in the film plant. And he was coaching at that time, and that's when I started helping him on and off. And eventually he gave it up because it got to be too much for him. He had 3 children, and it kind of fell apart. So in '64, the priest center asked me one day, would you consider, you know, coaching a basketball team that we had here, because it was falling apart. And I said yes, and I started from scratch, and you know, it was quite time consuming, because I used to have practice. I had no gym, so I used to practice in Washington School. They would give that to me for 1 night a week. And we did some practice outside when the days were nice. And we played in a league up in New Brunswick, which was Tri-County, which had a lot of teams from St. Mary's, South River, and St. Peter's, New Brunswick, and Sacred Heart was in New Brunswick, St. Ladislas. There was like 9 teams up there. So every Sunday they would have the games up there. Organized sport today, I guess, just kind of did away with like neighborhood. You can't no longer say, this is our team. You know, it's like the guy tells you, this is your team now. This is who we picked, and it's a tough job. Anybody that does any coaching with kids, they got their hands full. You know, Pop Warner, Little League, basketball. And there's a lot of people in this town that put in a lot of time, like Denny Connors from St. Stanislaus. He coached there for many years, the Catholic League he played in also. You know. Parents, you got to remember going back from the 40s to the 50s. You know, I played in high school basketball, football, and baseball, and like my mother and father, my father was a guy that he was a crane operator, and he went to work like 6 in the morning, and he worked till 5 at night. Come home, took a shower, ate supper, watched the news on TV, and then he went out and took care of the candy store till 11 o'clock at night. So this was a 7-day operation. He had Sundays off from his other job, but he worked 6 days operating a crane. And, you know, it was a struggle for them sometimes. They made every basketball game that I played, they went to, and every football game, but it was like a struggle, since they had to get somebody to watch the store. And it was like different then because they had other things that were more important. It wasn't what would you say? It wasn't as organized. You know, family life today. You're kind of got to go to little league. You got to go. You know, soccer practice and stuff like this. You know, my father would say, "Where's he at?" And my mother would say, "He went out to play ball." You know, so that would be about it. You know, and it was a different life. And I guess through the war, when people start coming out of the war years, they were looking for jobs. They were going to college. They were doing different things. So actually, when you were younger, you were on your own. You just nobody sent you to football camp years ago, or they didn't send you to baseball camp. You went to high school. You had a coach. You played there. And then you enjoyed it. So they were good years. I'll never forget them.